Well, thanks for that. So, it has consistently outperformed, as you rightly said, the four-wheeler industry. And going forward as well, we can see that it's going to drive the valuation of the whole auto sector completely. Now, when you look at, what's leading to this is, of course, the strong sales growth for the financial year 2025, starting April to August. We have seen roughly 8 to 13% growth from the likes of the legacy automakers, the Hero, Bajaj, as well as the TVS of the world. While Ola Electric has grown 66% in sales, it's still a very strong, growth, but it's coming at a very small base of about 1 lakh units sold last year. Now, specifically, when we move on to see the divergent view on the other side of the passenger vehicle makers, it's hardly any growth for the likes of Maruti as well as the likes of Tata Motors growing. Tata Motors actually reported a 3% fall in sales from April to the period of August, and only Mahindra and Mahindra has been one of the key outperformers here on the back of new launches. When you move forward and look at the returns generated by these two-wheeler companies in the last 1 month as well as the last 6 months as well, we can see that the sales growth has transferred into the stock price returns as well, especially in the last 1 month that we see the likes of Bajaj and Hero MotoCorp both outperforming the auto sector as a whole, driving the 16 to 20% return growth. Eicher Motors has been one of the most disappointing ones. With the volume growth also we've seen it's been lagging the other players, and that's reflected in the one as well as the returns. But what's surprising is the 6-month return has been decent around 29 odd percent. But the leaders here, of course, are Bajaj Auto as well as TVS Motors, both driving the sales growth of the company. Now, we look at some of the factors, what's worked for the company in this particular time frame. And the first one's, of course, the volume-led growth across the key segments, which have been driven by new launches by the companies. Now, we've seen roughly around 10 to 12 launches by all two-wheeler makers, and we'll see how these are working out as well in transpiring to strong sales growth. And the other key factor was working is, the first signs of recovery in rural demand. Post Q1, the earnings conference call, both Hero as well as TVS management has said that the rural growth has been faster than urban, and this is the first time in 4 years that has happened. Strong rural growth has also grown faster, and that's also led to newer models, especially in the 125cc segment that's worked, and that's kind of become the new entry level segment, essentially driving the sales growth for all these automakers. Finally, the ICE as well as the EV scooter is a segment which has picked up both. And especially one of the key winners here is TVS Motors. They have the Jupiter, which has been selling roughly 70,000 units per month, as well as the EV scooter is the iQube on the other side. That's been one of the key things to watch out for. But what to do and what's to look forward to going forward from this is, of course, the acceptance of the new launches. We've seen 12 launches as we spoke about in the last 5 months. Dispatches have just started in the last couple of months, so that's going to be one of the key things to watch out for. Another thing is the growth in the festive period. We've seen 17% growth in the first 5 months for these two-wheeler makers versus just about 6% for passenger vehicle makers. And going forward, it'll be important to see what happens in the festival period. Finally, a couple of other factors are, of course, the valuations. While they have moved up and given the returns of roughly about 43% for Bajaj, as we spoke in the last 6 months, they're still favorable and not quite as to say out of whack for most of these players. We can see that for FY26 specifically, for the likes of TVS Motors is one of the most expensive because it is targeting both the 125cc as well as the scooter segment, while Bajaj and Eicher Motors as well as are trading roughly around the 27 to 30 times. And despite the strong performance by Hero MotoCorp in the share price specifically, it's still just trading at 20 times price to earnings for FY26. So overall, while the outperformance has come in the last 12 to 18 months on volumes as well as stock price, the valuations are still not, completely out of whack. And specifically one line for four-wheelers, they are trading mostly around the 20 to 25 times price to earnings. So that's still discounting the less volume growth that they have. So overall, we can see, in this particular chart that the buy calls are still there for the likes of TVS and Bajaj Auto, while, for someone like a Hero also the highest with the 67% buy calls for the company. So really strong picture posted in the last 5 months. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the festive period. Back to you.